It's hoops, b-ball, all passion and heart, skill and dedication. March Madness segueing into NBA playoffs with thousands of high school ballers around the country hoping, dreaming. This is a story of a basketball team you've probably never heard of, from a school unlike any you've likely ever seen. You know, there are always turnaround stories in sports, but not one chapter and verse written by a coach and team like this who happen to see the world in a different light. John Barr takes us to Atlanta.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
5 times a day, the call comes. Down a lone hallway, past the fading lockers and small trophy case. It's a call to prayer that starts in Mecca, half a world away. But is answered here in a gym near downtown Atlanta by a team of young women and their coach. They are the Lady Caliphs of W.D. Muhammad, an all-Muslim high school of only 87 students. A school where strict Muslim beliefs dictate the girls must never show their heads or legs in public, even on the basketball court.
We believe in covering our bodies. Our bodies are only something that our husbands should see, so we feel that until we get to that point where we're married, we should cover our bodies.
As recently as 2 years ago, the girls struggled through a winless season.
We was already down because we were losing, and then when people made comments about our uniform, it would put us down even more.
After that season, when nobody believed the girls' team could win, Farad Abdul Rahman volunteered to become head coach. But even he, a Muslim, was surprised by what he found.
Initially, I was concerned. I'm used to the scarves, but not necessarily on the basketball court. So when I initially heard that they wore scarves and sweatpants, I was like, whoa.
A lot of people take it as a joke, and they say, oh, they have their scarves, the rags, they say, and they have the warm-ups on.
Ladies, all right! All right! All right! All right! All right!
The faith so central to this team makes players visible targets in a post-9/11 society.
1, 2, 3, defense!
Well, most of the general public believe that we're terrorists, and that is not true. They called us dirty Muslims, they called us pigs, but we uphold a belief system where stuff like that is not going to affect us. It only makes us stronger.
Battling bigotry and bigger schools, Coach Rahman inspired a remarkable turnaround. 0-20 before he arrived 2 years ago, the Lady Caliphs finished this regular season 21-1.
We say, okay, they take us as a joke. Oh no, they're going to see us when we get on that court. They're going to see that our scarves and our sweatpants do not affect our play.
I tell them to remain themselves. That's all right. In life, you're going to hear a lot of things. Be strong and be confident in who you are. And that's all that matters. Then after that, I say, okay, now go whoop them.
Our number one thing is taking away all hope, giving you no chance. Do we agree with that? Yes. Take away hope. The first 3 minutes, let them realize what they're up against. Do you understand? Work hard, y'all. Work hard. You understand? We have everything to lose. Come in.
All right, defense on 3.
Rahman is driven to win on the court by a personal loss away from it. Nearly 8 years ago, his younger sister Baina was murdered, stabbed in her home by her boyfriend after she'd tried to break off their relationship.
As time went on, I felt a little guilty, like, I was somewhat responsible because I'm the oldest. I've been responsible for her as well as all my brothers and sisters all my life.
Beanie's death, he knew he had a job to do.
He knew it's a lot of girls like her. She is not the only one and will not be the only victim in this. And I will not let her death be in vain. I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna help every person I know with self-esteem problems.
If this girl goes inside, I want you to sandwich her.
The sister who lacked self-esteem, the sister Rahman couldn't save, has helped him reach out to girls in ways perhaps no other coach could.
You played wonderful. That's what we need from every time. See how happy you were? Moving around? Good job.
Every day he gives us stories about life lessons and how we should choose for the best and be the best in life. And from that story, it motivated me to not only do it for myself, but do it for him as well as his sister.
A higher calling, answered daily by a team few believed in and by a coach who restored both confidence and a will to win.
I think people's views of Islam are so twisted and so incorrect. It's good for them to see Islam in a regular sense. These are regular black girls from a regular community.
When someone is putting you down, calling you all these negative names, and you go out and prove them wrong and you win, it's just like you're on top of the world. It's a wonderful feeling, and I love it.
If you think it is a disadvantage for his girls to compete in sweats and a scarf, consider this. During the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, the players fast from sunup to sundown. That means no water all day. Coach Rahman has actually called timeouts during night games that start before sundown, just so his players can get something to eat and drink. FYI, WD Muhammad, the smallest team in Georgia to make the Sweet 16, was eliminated last weekend.
Now a story that seems lifted directly out of the screenplay of Field of Dreams, which no right-thinking American can watch to conclusion with dry eyes. This story has the added advantage of actually being true. On this Father's Day, John Barr has the tale that proves once again into a third century, baseball's hold on the heart is unique. And more than any other sport, it binds us together, generation to generation, father to son.
You're never too tired to play catch. On your days off, you help build a Little League field.
You won't find it among the thousands of artifacts at the National Baseball Hall of Fame.
You always came to watch me play. You're a Hall of Fame dad.
Not even if you look for it.
I wish I could share this moment with you, your son Pat.
It was the winter of 1994 when workers at the Hall removed a World War II display case and uncovered what soon became a powerful little mystery.
One of the ladies in the maintenance department happened to be walking through, and she found this small snapshot.
Chief Curator Ted Spencer immediately knew the smiling man staring back at him in the Sinclair Oil uniform wasn't one of the then 216 baseball legends immortalized in Cooperstown. What struck him most about the wallet-sized photo were the words handwritten on the back.
It was quite moving to the point where it was very difficult for me to read it to people without choking up. I mean, it had that much of an immediate impact.
When the photograph came to Ted's attention, he actually thought of me.
Steve Wolf, now an executive editor with ESPN the magazine, was a writer at Sports Illustrated at the time.
It's almost as if the entire movie Field of Dreams had been compacted onto the back of a little photograph. I mean, that was the basic appeal. It was a son reaching out to his father through baseball.
Wolf decided to write about the photo, appreciating the anonymity of the man and the message, left, he thought, by a son named Pete. But about 150 miles from Cooperstown in tiny Wellsville, New York, the mystery of the Hall of Fame dad was about to be solved.
We put it on a photocopy machine and blew it up several times and saw that it actually said Pat.
Neil Simon, then a reporter with the local newspaper, had a hunch that the man in the photo he saw in Sports Illustrated played on an amateur team in Wellsville in the 1940s and 50s, so he started showing the picture around town. Before long, a local resident gave the Hall of Fame dad an identity.
And he came into the office and said, "That's Joe O'Donnell." And he has a son named Pat, and bingo, knew that we had it.
Simon soon tracked down Pat O'Donnell in nearby Andover, New York.
I didn't know how in the world he knew about it. Well, then he told me that it was in this month's issue of Sports Illustrated, and I just couldn't believe it.
Pat rushed to the drugstore, bought the last copy of Sports Illustrated on the magazine rack, and there it was, on page 132, the snapshot he hid 5 years before. The snapshot he learned the Hall planned to put back, making it a permanent, if unseen, part of baseball history.
I just started to cry, that's all. Joe O'Donnell, the Baseball Hall of Fame, and he's going to be there, stay there.
So who was Joe O'Donnell, the stocky catcher who snuck into baseball's Hall of Fame? He played for years for amateur teams in upstate New York and was praised in print for his lusty hitting.
In Genesee, when they played up there was no fence, and the guys would go back and stand in the trees when he was up, because that's how far he could hit the ball.
Eventually, Joe's baseball skills helped him land a coveted job at the local Sinclair oil refinery, sponsor of the town's baseball team. He'd come home from work dirty and beat tired, but never too exhausted to play ball with Pat and the neighborhood kids.
He was always in the neighborhood, hitting pop flies to us kids, helping build us a ball diamond up there. Yeah, he loved it.
Back when Pat was still in Little League, he remembers asking his dad for the first time about the Hall of Fame and just who made it to Cooperstown.
He said, the best of the best are in there, and he said, we'll go there someday. He said, I'll take you there. Well, we never got the chance.
In March of 1966, when Pat was just barely out of high school and awaiting the birth of his own first child, Joe died suddenly of a heart attack. He was 50 years old.
It still impacts me to this day. With him dying, my son being born, I didn't have my father there to, okay, how do you become a father? How did you get to be a dad, you know? And I was lost. I was just totally lost without his guidance.
Pat's first marriage ended in divorce. His ex-wife and son Rick moved a few hours away. Unlike his own father, who was always around, Pat would miss much of his son's childhood.
I needed a father. My father always talked about Grandpa and playing catch and baseball and the Yankees. And as a child reaching out, how do I get my father's attention?
When Rick was old enough to reach out, he did the only thing that made sense to him at the time. He gave his dad the perfect birthday present.
Happy birthday, Dad. He shows me a ball glove. Want to play some catch? About broke my heart that day.
Baseball, once again, provided common ground. But Pat still had some unfinished business. That trip to Cooperstown he never got to take with his dad. So in 1989, while visiting the Hall of Fame for the first time, he walked around the exhibits with that familiar photo stashed in his pocket.
Then I said, I'm going to find this place in there. I said, I'm putting this picture in there, and I want it to stay in there.
He wedged the photo under that display case, but not before writing his lasting tribute on the back.
You're never too tired to play catch. On your days off, you helped build a Little League field. You always came to watch me play. You're a Hall of Fame dad. I wish I could share this moment with you, your son, Pat. Now I know where the best of the best is. He was the best. He was to me.
We're playing hardball now, you're with your grandpa.
But this scene back in Andover may be Joe O'Donnell's greatest legacy. Rick O'Donnell, the son once so distant, recently moved just 2 doors down from his dad, which means 12-year-old Brendan O'Donnell can just as easily join his dad and his grandfather for a game of catch. 3 generations of O'Donnells bound by baseball. We'd say somewhere Joe O'Donnell must be smiling, but we know where he is, at least in spirit, still tucked safely away behind giants of the game.
For all the great things and all the great information that's in this building, that's the thing that may stand as high as anything as to what the significance of the game is to the culture.
He never had a chance to maybe get there through baseball. But he got there just because he was a great dad.
Wow. John Barr reporting. That picture remains one of the most asked about items at the Hall, even though it's never been displayed or exhibited. It has been placed back close to where it was discovered, along with several other items related to the entire story, and this time along with a note for curators of the future if and when that picture would be discovered.